Hey son, would love to chat sometime if you're up for that. Sound good? Love you, Dad. Hey, awesome. Do you mean it?
Yeah.
Hey, cool.
Cool.
Should we do this
let's
like
chat.
the face-to-face thing?
Is that just me or is that awkward?
Listen, father and son chats have forever been awkward, but in the modern age, they're doubly so. So let's do this.
What?
I put my phone away.
Out of sight, out of mind.
How you doing?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have you home for a few days from university, and thanks for agreeing to sit down and have a chat with me. So this is our oldest son, Jordan. He is a university student. You're in which year now, George?
Second year.
Second year, and you're studying?
I'm doing a Bachelor of Education, K through 12, as a teaching degree.
It's brilliant. Yeah, we're really supportive and proud of what you're doing so far. Let's start like this. You've come out of a faith community in a home where faith is a central part of our life, and you're bringing that with you into what's essentially a secular environment.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than talking first about what's challenging about that, why don't you start by explaining what you think is the most rewarding or energizing of that opportunity?
Well, obviously, it is a secular school, and you know that's going to be a challenge when you go into that environment. So it is a challenge that you're ready for in a way. But more the rewarding side of that is the discussions that come out of your interactions in daily life as a Christian in university, either with your lecturers. Many of my lectures are, as I like to say, devout atheists. They're very strongly against Christianity and against Christian views, and mostly won't like to discuss that, but the conversations that you do have, or the opportunities you do have to discuss your faith with them, can be quite interesting, and you can actually, I've had instances where I've built really good relationships with lectures.
So let me just ask, if you're saying that they're not going to engage in that, how do you know that they are, as you say, what did you call them, like
devout atheist?
Devoutly atheist. Like, how do you know that if you're not in classes where those conversations are on the table?
Well, there are classes where, for example, my science class, where they basically say at the beginning of the year that they don't want to have a conversation about Christianity, or at least not in a class setting, and because it, in a way, it would, in their minds, would undermine what they are trying to teach. And
so are we saying science and faith are mutually exclusive?
In that case, yes, but in the approach, you can approach them after the classes and have one-on-one discussions, which I found is basically the only way to actually engage on that level. But
sure,
yeah, in most cases it is. Yeah.
So aside from lecturers, I mean, what sort of engagement do you have with other students in that space? Are you going to Bible studies, doing anything like that, or is it just...
Yeah, absolutely. So I am involved in weekly Bible studies with a lot of my peers, which has been really refreshing, honestly, to get their perspectives, and obviously from all the different walks of life at university, and encourage each other through university life, which is challenging, especially today, as secular as it is.
Sure. Tell me a little bit about your fellow students. Where are they coming from? Obviously, right now with the border closures, there's probably a lot of international kids who would be here that aren't.
Right.
But are you on campus? Are you on Zoom all the time? How does it actually work?
A bit of both. Now it's mostly back on campus, which is really good, because I do not like learning on Zoom. It doesn't work very well. Most people don't. But yeah, definitely a lot of international students aren't there.
What don't you like about the Zoom format? Some people would say they'd prefer it because you're on your own turf, and
right.
What you're wearing below the camera line nobody cares about.
It's definitely not as engaging. You don't have discussions on as much as people think you're able to have discussions on Zoom. It's always very one-sided, and people are, you can't even tell them if they don't make you have your camera on, you don't even know if half this class is there, so, or mentally present. So, yeah, it's definitely not as engaged. You don't have discussions, basically. Yeah.
In the course of your studies, have you run into any times where either in class or out of class you felt your faith particularly challenged, or where you yourself have called into question, or inversely felt like you had a real opportunity to witness to your belief?
Well, there was one instance. Actually, it was in my first session at uni. That the lecturer basically asked if anyone thought abortion was unethical, because we were having an ethic discussion. And I raised my hand, and I was like, and I looked around, and I was the only one in the lecture hall with my hand up. I was like, this could get interesting. But yeah, it actually sparked a really good discussion with both.
So were
the
you
class.
called out on the spot?
Yeah, but I spoke my views, and a few other people spoke their views, and it turned into a good conversation. And probably the best part of that was that it created a really good relationship between the lecturer, even though our views contradicted each other's. But we developed this really good relationship after that, just on respect.
So, obviously, as I said at the beginning, you've grown up in a faith-based community, in a home where faith is central. But I know from many conversations we've had, you're also working to personalize your faith, make it your own.
Right.
Faith is not something that we can inherit vicariously from our parents or from our faith community.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you're experiencing now in university, or just living in a university town, that you feel are helping solidify your beliefs or challenging them?
One of the biggest aspects is the amount of strength that you do get from having somebody or Jesus to rely on to get you through the difficult times, and to having. I mean, growing up in a community, you don't necessarily have daily challenges where your faith is challenged, or you're physically and emotionally challenged the entire time. For example, in a university setting, that you don't need as much a strong faith. Whereas when you're in those situations, and either your faith is being challenged, or you're really stressed, and you rely on God to get you through. I think that's been one of the more strengthening aspects of my faith. Yeah.
And you found other young Christians to connect with, to fellowship with?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, through Bible studies, also the church I go to, and I find that really refreshing. Other young Christians, or my peers as Christians, and their perspectives, and obviously from different backgrounds in Christianity, but it's just really encouraging to chat with those people as well.
That's brilliant. I'm interested to know, that whole sort of butterfly culture, whatever you want to call it, where we have to be really fragile with each other all the time. How are you navigating that in the university, or is that just a figment of the media imagination?
It's kind of funny. I wrote in creative writing class, I wrote a poem as an assignment, stating how it's basically on this topic that you're in universities, if you say something that's your tutor disagrees with, or your marker disagrees with, you're gonna get marked down. It was, obviously poetic, but you're gonna get marked down on what you say rather than on the academic work that you've done.
Based on what?
Well, based on my experience.
But what's what's the rubric for that? I mean, who's defining? Defining that as something you can grade on?
It's not, and it shouldn't be, and that's what I was writing about. And it was actually hilarious because the marker wrote, "This is not true," and gave me a terrible grade for the poem. And I was like, "There you go, point made." I was like, so yeah, I found it funny, and I got a bad grade. I shouldn't mind because it was funny, but that's more.
It's funny on the one level, but on the other, if that is how we're going to move forward in society together, it's gonna.
Yeah,
it's not going to work in the long haul.
Yeah, going back to that point, I don't know how we can change that going forward. Yeah.
Well, maybe part of it is, as you say, the ability to have respectful conversations together, and I wish you a lot of success in doing just that. With the people that you meet, whether they're your lecturers or your workmates at your job or fellow students. Maybe part of the issue is, let's get back to treating everybody with respect,
Right.
regardless of whether we agree or disagree.
Yeah, 100%.
On whatever the topic is, whether it's faith or our favorite color. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, that would be really nice.
And particularly as Christians, if we believe that man is created in the image of God, then surely every person has the divine spark within him or her. And it's our job to pick up on that and connect with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the only visible way going forward, in my experience as well.
So I know you're heading back to school in a couple hours, and your mother and I will continue to pray for you, as we always do, and
Thank you.
wish you many opportunities just to get to know people and relate meaningfully.
Right, thanks.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say to other young people, young people of faith who are in similar situations? Any word of encouragement for them?
Just stay strong in what you believe, and feel very free. If you're not open with other people, they're not going to understand you. I've found you can't hide the fact that you're Christian and if you do, it becomes very awkward. So yeah, just be out there, and make the most of it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Son, thank you for pulling yourself away from your phone long enough to talk. Actually, it's not that bad.
It wasn't bad.
Okay. Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
you.
Love you too.